App Engine and also the coding competition for the day. I mentioned this earlier today, right? So I actually created my first App Engine app like about 2 weeks ago. I used to code in PHP and MySQL, and I did not know anything about Python. And I just thought, like, I got so many emails, individual emails of people asking me, oh, am I invited? Am I rejected? And I just can't respond to everyone. So I just created this app. Maybe some of you tested it, and you could actually check your invitation status, right, with this app online. Putting your email, you would know whether you're invited or not. So actually, it was quite easy to do. I was quite impressed. I'm actually very proud of myself. And thanks to one of the next speaker who's going to help you and explain the rules of the competition, I actually got this app to work. It's not perfect. It's very simple. But still, I'm so happy. What I'm going to do is the prize for today's competition is my phone. No, it's not my phone. It's another phone, another Android phone. So the best app today, developed today, it can be any App Engine application, can be an extension of the guestbook demo that Pa is going to show you and try to make you work with. But it can be anything, as long as it's developed today. You can use any maps or other APIs you want to integrate it with. And the most complete set we'll actually demo this evening during 1 minute. And we'll have a judging panel of Google engineers who will decide on the winning team or person. But I only have one phone, right, to give out. So next session is Louisella and Adil on a great website is nothing if you can't find it. For those who don't want to code, for instance, but it's a great session anyway. And here we'll have Timothy Jordan and Pa Kwesi Imbea. Please welcome them.
Hi, this. So we are going to do, so first of all, before we get started, I wanted to find out how many of you have managed to set up the App Engine SDK. Okay, brilliant. For both Python or Java. Okay. All right, so the actual session will be done in Python. And another important point, so on the DVDs, there's the source code for the demo app that I'm going to run. Right, so you don't have to actually build it from scratch, even though it's encouraged. So if you don't have it, try to grab a DVD whilst the session is going on. Pass one around if you have it, and get up to speed. I'll hand off to my dear friend here to introduce you to Google App Engine. All right, see you in a bit.
Thank you. Hello, how's everybody doing? Yeah? Great day so far, huh? Well, we're super excited to be here and terribly excited that you're here as well. Let me just tell you a little bit about us. This is me, Timothy, the one with the bow tie. And of course, we have Pa there as well. We have credentials online. So if you want to talk to us after today, you can use Twitter or you can use Google Buzz, and you can find us that way. If you want to do some tweeting and some buzzing now, please feel free to use our hashtag for the day, which is GJordan. All right, so part one. We're going to be talking right away about hosting on Google with Google App Engine. And then we're going to be talking about developing amazing web applications with Google Web Toolkit, or GWT. Sound like fun? Oh, come on. Does that sound like fun? Thanks. All right, so hosting on Google. It's really awesome. Let me take a few slides to convince you of just that fact. First off, lots of people are using it. Lots of people have trusted their business and their applications with Google App Engine. You'll notice my lovely graph here goes to the right and up. More people every day are signing up to use Google App Engine and finding success with it. In fact, there's a few people that you might recognize that have built things on Google App Engine. Some part of their infrastructure, Best Buy and Social Walk, eBay and Gigya, just to name a few. I always love slides full of logos, don't you? All right, another reason. Managing everything is super hard. And I'm not saying you can't do it. I, in fact, have my own server, and I love playing around with it. But it takes time. It takes time to manage all of those services. And it takes time to do the software patches and do upgrades and stay current. It's just a pain. So why would you do it? Why would you spend your time managing infrastructure when you can spend your time building amazing applications? With Google App Engine, you find infrastructure that's easy to build on. We have rapid application development for Python and for Java. It's super easy to manage. You get a web-based management console with lots of information so you can play around and tweak stuff, discover bottlenecks, and improve your application. And it scales. It just scales. If you start out with the free App Engine and you're coming under quota and you're not paying anything, and then all of a sudden someday you're on some fabulous news website and tons of users show up at your application, Google App Engine is just going to work. You don't have to freak out and buy new hardware and get it shipped next day and install it and do all that stuff. Because you are already built on an infrastructure that will scale. We manage the infrastructure, which means we wear pagers so you don't have to. Yeah? If there's ever an issue with the infrastructure, we deal with it. We take care of it. If we need to scale, we manage that so that you don't have to worry about it. That's awesome. Again, it's taking all the energy you have and removing the worry about dealing with the infrastructure. Well, that was exciting. And just focusing on building your amazing applications. All right, let's dive just a little bit deeper. This is the Google App Engine infrastructure, well, sort of simplified, right? And it's a sort of three-tiered web application structure that you'd expect. You've got a front end where the users come in. You've got some sort of server that deals with stuff. And then you've got all these sort of internal APIs or services that you can use. Yeah? If you're just managing static files, those static files just get pulled up. If you're storing data in the data store or you're using Memcache, that goes through the app server. And that interaction between the front end and the app server is managed by our app master, which is a really cool name. Let's take a look at some of those basic services, shall we? First off, we've got Memcache, so that you can do caching in memory. You don't always have to pull data out of the data store when you need to serve it up right away. We do have an excellent data store, which is a distributed data storage service, right? And this features query engine and transactions. Just as the distributed web server grows with your traffic, the distributed data store grows with your data. We do this thing called URL fetch. If you need to pull things from elsewhere on the internet, we have a service that allows you to do that. We have mail. And this mail is using Google infrastructure to send messages the same way we do. And we also have a cron service that you can do scheduled tasks and task queues. So if you need to do background processes, you can do them simply with webhooks that you build into your application, right? It's not complicated. You don't have to ask the person who owns root on your server to add in like a cron job. You can just add it as a webhook and schedule the cron job. Images. We provide fast image response. And this is using the same Google infrastructure that we use for products like Picasa and others to deliver images at super high speeds. We've got a blob store. So if you need to store files, you can do that as well. You don't have to store them in the data store. And we also have a user service, right? Who's ever had to create a logon for their application? All right, keep your hands up. Leave your hands up if you really enjoyed that experience. Right? It's a bummer. Who loves doing that? But with user service, you can leverage an accounting system that already has a whole lot of users, and that's the Google accounting system. It's just drop it into your application, and all of a sudden you've got user logon for your application. And we've got some specialized services as well. We've got XMPP. That acronym always screws me up. This is what Jabber and Google Talk are based on, so you can send messages through XMPP. We've got a channel API, which is super great. Yeah? WebSockets aren't quite there yet. Comet is really a pain in the butt to implement. But with channel API, you can get direct messaging in an open communication channel between the server and the client. Fast image serving, which I talked about. We've got also a matcher API, which is in trusted testing right now, which is really great if you need to do queries that do a lot of matching. We've got a mapper library so that you can do map reduce across your data as well, right? Which is, if you don't know, a great way to do distributed web processing on your data store. And we've got the task queue, and we've got libraries for OpenID and OAuth as well. So with these APIs and with these special APIs, you find that you can scale your application not just to lots of users, but also to lots of services. And we have a web-based admin console, which if you haven't checked out, is really cool. Yeah? I can't tell you how many times I've been writing an application and for some reason it's super slow, or I'm just hitting the API way more than I should. And I go into this management console and I look at my logs, or I add some more logging statements, and I discover how to fix my application from that data. Right? No more looking for the logs on the server or asking root to give you access. It's all right there. And it's always free to get started. And these are great quotas. Yeah? With 6.5 CPU hours a day, that's a lot of CPU. I actually found that I wrote an application on the Google Buzz Firehose, which is a ton of data, right? And it's coming in just really, really fast via PubSub Hubbub. That when we first released the Firehose, the traffic has grown quite a bit since then, but when we first released it, it took about 18 hours to get over the free quota of just throwing data at this thing. So you can actually make some really great applications. And that's the Firehose. For most typical applications, you can run them for a long time on a small amount of users and never go over these free quotas. And we have multiple language support. We have the two big ones, Python, my favorite, and also Java, which I hear people really like. And we also have extended language support through the JVM. Right? So if you can compile your language down to Java bytecode, you can use that language. And there are a lot of services that allow you to do this, including PHP and JavaScript, Ruby, Python, Mira, which is super cool. All right. So what's next? A really great thing about App Engine is that we provide a public roadmap of the things that we're working on. So if there's a service that you need that we haven't implemented yet, you can go to the roadmap and check out to see if we are working on it. And it'll show you all the stuff that we've built that had been on the roadmap as well. Some things that we're working on right now are things like background servers, improved monitoring, hosted SQL. And we have an App Engine for business, right? And this gives you a few things over App Engine for everyone else. There's enterprise application management, so you can do sort of centralized management across your domain. We have 3 nines SLA, right? So it's a 99.9% uptime. And lots of extra developer support. We do some cool SQL things for you. You can do single sign-on, and you can also do that on a naked domain, the SSL. And the pricing that makes sense. You just pay for what you use. All right, I want to talk about a feature that we just released on Google App Engine recently that I think is awesome. I mentioned it already. It's the channel API. This is really cool. I'm really excited about this because, like I said, comment is just painful to implement. And the browser support for this, doing this natively in HTML and JavaScript really isn't quite there yet. But being able just to drop in place and do this on App Engine is such a joy. So it allows you to do asynchronous communication, right? And this is the chat archetype. When you've got a web page and somebody says something on another web page and it pings to the server and pings down to your web browser. What we used to do is polling if you wanted to do this. But we implemented some really cool stuff with GTalk, and we've made that available for everybody on App Engine. Again, App Engine is about building on Google's infrastructure. So this is bidirectional. The server can talk to the client, and the client can talk to the server. The server, it's as simple as implementing webhooks for what's coming back. And the client, there's a library that just allows you to make JavaScript methods available to be called. So I'm going to kind of show you some code without explaining it. But this is, just sort of a basic taste of what this code looks like. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. This is on the server side, and then this is on the client side as well. On the server side, let me just note a couple things, so I have a few minutes here, is that the server creates a unique channel for each individual JavaScript client, and it sends a unique token, right, to identify that JavaScript client and starts listening to their channel. It receives updated messages via post, and it sends messages to the clients via their channels. Right? So that's how you get the bidirectional stuff. And then the client, the user interacts with the JavaScript on the web page. And it's primarily responsible for three things. It connects to the channel once it receives the channel's unique token from the server. It listens on the channel for updates. And it sends update messages to the server. Right, so it's really straightforward and really simple. Let's look at a fancy topology diagram. I'm going to show you this application, and we're going to play this. So a few of you that want to play this, make sure that you're online. I'm going to give you a web address in just a moment. This is essentially game state being kept in data store and memcache.